more slides we can just go through just for a moment. And then we'll have some questions, Carmel, in just 2 minutes if we can. It's a video, the one at the bottom there if we can just.
Some 20,000 Australians are affected by multiple sclerosis, a debilitating disease that can cause a slow and painful decline and even death, and for which there is no known cure. But recently, the life of a Canberra student has been saved by a new treatment for MS, which is now being recommended for younger sufferers who experience a rapid onset of the disease. Although the stem cell transplant procedure is widely available overseas, until recently Australian medical authorities have warned against this treatment for multiple sclerosis. But the remarkable recovery of 19-year-old Ben Lay has doctors wondering if they've been too cautious. Matt Peacock reports.
Ben Lay had just turned 18 when he noticed a slight pain in his leg.
It felt like my feet were numb, all pins and needles. Like, just pins and needles constantly, just wouldn't go away.
His stepfather, Dr. Colin, himself a GP, became concerned.
I said there's definitely something wrong here, something major. I said take him straight down the hospital.
At Canberra Hospital, the diagnosis was made. Ben Lay had multiple sclerosis, a disease that attacks the protective sheath around the nerves in the brain and spinal column, usually over many years. Despite steroid treatment, a few weeks later, Ben Lay's body started shutting down.
The onset was over a matter of days with weakness in his legs, and then it progressed to weakness in his arms, and eventually his limbs were totally paralysed and he couldn't breathe without assistance.
Ben Lay was rushed into the intensive care ward. A magnetic resonance imaging scan revealed a rapid onset of the MS disease with major lesions on his brain.
If he wasn't in intensive care, he would have died.
It's fine. What's the most horrible? You don't bury children.
With breathing assistance and some chemotherapy, his condition was stabilised. But it was only a modest improvement.
I couldn't talk or move. My eyes were open, but no one could notice that I was still alive.
It was then that neurologist Colin Andrews thought of trying a treatment he'd only ever heard about from overseas, bone marrow transplant.
That's essential for you. He was the perfect case because he had no other option. So we had to take the risk.
For all others, parents Don and Prue Catotti reached the same conclusion from their own research.
We'd read about a fellow in Athens that had had stem cell that had done well. I think that was the case, wasn't it, Prue?
Yeah. So we did that.
And yeah, Dr. Andrews suggesting that you could look at this. I was all for it at that stage.
Yeah, that's all we had.
But initially, the Canberra hospital team said no.
They wanted a consensus from the whole neurological department, which we tried to obtain at a meeting that we had, which didn't work out that well. And I remember having to go and say, look, I'm sorry, I can't get consensus from my colleagues. What are we going to do now?
If we didn't do that, was he going to survive?
Ben was in intensive care, unconscious.
It was a step in the dark and a challenge. We hadn't done something like this before.
Although leukemia patients have received this treatment for decades, MS trials in Melbourne 10 years ago had poor results. But a European study of 900 people with autoimmune diseases who were given the treatment in the past decade included 345 MS patients, and the vast majority of them responded well.
From that, we can work out the number of stem cells we've collected. That's enough, we'll go ahead.
After consulting interstate colleagues, Canberra hematologist Michael Pidcock and his team decided to press ahead, following protocols established by Italian physicians. say it's like rebooting the patient's immune system. The first step is to gather some of the patient's own bone marrow stem cells.
The marrow aspirate following some chemotherapy and administration of some marrow-stimulating drugs. The patient's own bone marrow stem cells are harvested from their bloodstream on a machine during a narrow window of time.
These stem cells are stored in liquid nitrogen. Then a heavy dose of chemotherapy knocked out Ben Lay's immune system and remaining bone marrow cells.
The marrow cells were reinfused a day afterwards, and following a period of reduction of the cells in the blood due to the chemotherapy, the normal marrow regenerated like seedlings in a garden and produced normal blood cells after about 14 days.
It worked. Nearly a year later, a much healthier Ben Lay is undergoing an MRI scan to see just how effective the treatment has been. His doctors are jubilant. The major active brain lesions have disappeared.
That's quite amazing that the scan has returned to this sort of pictures.
Indeed, fabulous outcome.
It's the most dramatic change I've ever seen in someone with MS, yes.
It appears to have clearly saved his life, so we are very excited about that. But then again, it may just be something that's peculiar to Ben.
Australia's MS Society's consultant, Professor Bill Carroll, has hailed the result, but with reservations.
I must say, however, it is still very experimental. The case of Ben Lay is terrific for Ben, but may not be translatable to all people with MS.
This caution from Australia's MS establishment angers Ben Lay's parents, who say the MS Society discouraged them from pursuing the treatment.
It was just not, we don't do it in Australia, we probably won't do it for 10 years because there's just not enough information around.
I tend to think that maybe the whole medical system is too fixated on the pharmacological approach and not on getting permanent cures.
So here I'm asked to lift my right leg, and I can't lift it at all. And even here, leaning forward, using my abdominals, I can just lift my leg, but now it's much easier.
Kat Rochford shares the Katoti's anger. She has slower onset MS than Ben Lay, but felt the expensive government-subsidised drugs prescribed for her did little.
I'm a fitness instructor. I've got 3 kids, and I'm having trouble walking and doing a lot of things. And I thought, I'm only 35 years old, and I don't want to go down that track.
On a trip to her native Canada, she heard of a friend, a golf pro with MS, who had seemingly successful stem cell treatment in Israel, and she decided to go too.
I rang the MS Society before I went, and they were adamant about not doing it, and it wasn't effective, and they wouldn't support me in it at all.
This is still experimental, and it's still being worked out as to which patients will benefit most from it, and which patients clinicians will be prepared to take the risk to give their patients this sort of treatment.
The MS Society's Chairman of Research, Professor Bill.
Okay, we're going to stop it there. We're running out of time. But if you ever wanted an ounce of inspiration, you get it tonight, I think. If you wanted to ever believe in science, you'd see it tonight as well. So just before we close, any questions from the floor? A bit more.
Greg, white cells attack viruses and the white cells in MS actually attack the body. What causes the white cells to change and attack the person causing the MS?
That's an excellent question. They're still trying to just find out why.
No. I asked the question. You're supposed to have the answer.
Good on you. I'll get back to you on that one.
Thank you, Chairman. Greg, Carmel organisation as well. Fantastic. MS destroys the sheath around the nerves.
Correct.
Right? So, in this stem cell that you've had, it resets the immune system.
It's like resetting the clock.
Yeah, resetting everything,
yeah.
Right? So I understand that bit. So, the damage that's already done, what happens to that? Does it regrow back, or are you sort of left at that level of effectively that level of disability from the MS, or does it recover?
Yeah, with MS there's demyelination, and what's happening now is remyelination in my body. So I'm getting remyelinated, everyone. It's wonderful. My myelin sheath is going to be some repair. That's not to say that all the repair will occur, but definitely it's going in the right direction, not the other way. Thank you.
One final question, Malcolm Kennedy.
Fantastic presentation, Carmel. My father-in-law was spent 10 years establishing the geographic and gender situation for MS.
Oh, wow.
And he was pissed upon by Colin. This is a senior medical professional. You are breaking through a paradigm. You are going to have to fight through Facebook. What can we do?
Every day I get a story like yours. Every day I hear the struggles of the Australian people fighting for their partners and their loved ones and their mums and their dads. And that is the question. I would like to know what to do and how to do it, but what I do, okay, is I guide people towards the light to make a difference in quality of their lives through pointing them to Canberra at the minute. Believe it or not, Bill Carroll is actually a huge fan of the treatment. He's actually really done overnight people in Western Australia. Huge fan of it. Secretly in Western Australia, he's really done a lot of people, but it's all very hush-hush. Hush-hush. Until we get, I believe, the FDA trials that complete in America, which I think will occur in 4 to 5 years. Once we get that approval and that's done, I believe there is nothing stopping Australia from jumping on board and putting it for the people in this country. I've heard so many stories very similar to yours, and I started singing to myself, "Cry me a river, cry me a river." Today I say to you, when you hear ABBA's song and when you hear Dancing Queen, you think of Carmel Turner and the Stem Cell Queen.
Jar Custis, please, with a vote of thanks. Thank you.
Carmel. Thank you. Carmel, that's amazing. You are naturally very, very passionate. And you know what really struck me when I saw that session, that clip from the 7:30 report, your face when you were looking at the CT scan, when those lesions had gone, that said it all for me. You know, when I was looking at that was truly amazing. And of course the passion and the conviction, and you know how happy I am for you that you're just so well now. Okay? Thank you, because I think you moved everybody in this room. Thank you too, Malcolm, for your story. Fantastic. And you know something? Do you drink scotch?
Yes.
You've got a scotch glass. I thought you might drink scotch. There you go. We decided on a glass of what congratulations.
Thank you so much.
No worries. And thank you for helping all of us today understand a little bit more about, what you people are going through. When I say you people, it's sufferers from MS.
Absolutely.
Like you used to.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here, everyone here tonight. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, what a great night. All right, I'll hand you back to the sergeant. I think that's where we're heading now. Thank you. Sergeant.
Thank you, Chairman. Great. Okay, so this is my first official Sergeant's Fines session, so let's get started. Past President Sharp. First of all, because you're now the past president, so you can pay for that. And while you've got your hand in your pocket, you can also pay for this one. Do the rest of you remember last Rotary year with the meals, there would be one nice meal and one roast? And towards the end, we're all getting sick to death of getting the roast. Do you know what President Jacques did all last year? He would wait to see which meals came out and then he'd say, I'll have that one, thank you very much. So the person who introduced having a roast all year didn't eat one for the whole year. So you can pay for that too. And President Gary, you can pay for being president now. Mark Caulfield, are you fighting down the back?
I know where it is.
There was a car accident in your road this morning, so you can pay for that one. Do we have any Bulldog supporters in the room? Where's Jeff? Any other Bulldog supporters in the room?
Yeah, I'll be here.
Okay, well, Fano, you can have it. So I'm going to find the Bulldog supporters because one of their supporters rang up on the radio the other day when we were having problems with the ash cloud to say, why doesn't the AFL just charter an aeroplane to get the Bulldogs to the Gold Coast, up to Queensland, instead of making them go up a few days earlier to avoid the ash cloud? So, you got that one? Yeah, so you can. Yeah. Di, can you pass me that piece of paper there, please? Yeah, I'm going to find you. Thank you. So I'm going to find all our new directors and our officers of the club because there's this really nice photo in the Gazette this week. So, Greg, Peter, Mick, Gary, Di, Gus, Murray and John. You can all pay for that. And, well, no, I've already found Jacques twice, but there's another photo of Jacques in there. So
Mining 3 times.
Mining 3 times. Okay, now, I'm assuming that you've all heard the story of the feuding families in Glenroy. Yes. So I heard today what actually caused it. Now, one of the families moved into the Glenroy area and has really loved living there. The other family moved into the Glenroy area, and from the minute they landed, they started bagging it about how bad it was and how much they hated living in Glenroy. And that's what the feud is over. And this reminded me of something that I was told about the other day about one of our members who has exactly the same feelings about the suburb of Dandenong. So just be careful, Gus. You could be on the end of a funeral. So Gus, you can pay for that one. Stop picking on Dandenong. Greg Cornelius, you're the president of projects. Mark Caulfield, you can pay because you're having a birthday, and Peter Mangan, you can pay because you're having an anniversary. Past President John left his name badge at home, and you're also stuttering over names and words and things down the back there. That's actually familiar, isn't it, to be past President John, so you can pay for that. I'd also like to, just because I can, find anyone in the room who barracks for a team that Geelong has beaten so far this year. So, Adelaide, Carlton, Collingwood, Fremantle, Hawthorn twice, St Kilda twice, Port Adelaide, Western Bulldogs, and the Sydney Swans. Have I got them all for those of us that barrack for the Cats? So, no, I said Freo. And, Frono, you can probably put in for Essendon because I think we'll probably beat you on Saturday night as well. And, any fines from the floor? Past President Jim.
Thank you, Sergeant. You should put it for yourself because you're also new officer company, whatever.
I'm just a sergeant.
President Gary has got a new chain of office.
Oh, yeah, he does.
And it seems to be missing a few bars on it. And I understand that past President Jark was actually walking through the gang on the lost. I think Gus or Jark should do that. For losing the bars.
He didn't sell them, did he? Any more fines from the floor? Peter?
Yes, I'll put it from the spike from the floor. You don't normally find guests, but normally, Mary, I'm putting it ahead for Morris Blackburn advertising.
Past President Jack.
Thank you, Sergeant Julie. This one's on Murray, but maybe it should be Gus. Oh, went to the changeover last week. Got our little Bible, didn't I? I've been trying to send Murray a email all week. It keeps bouncing back, and I couldn't understand why. I used his correct address. Murray at bobpond.com.
Any more fines from the floor? Okay, I've actually got one more that I forgot about. This is on Chairman Greg. Greg, I want to fine you for producing, in terms of guest speakers, for producing Mark of the Year on the first night. How are we going to be at Carmel? So you can pay for setting up Mark of the Night on the first night of the new year. So, thank you. Thank you back to
Thank you, Sergeant Julie. It was a great stealing fine session. Now, thank you very much, Carmel. It was a moving presentation. Thank you. And I'm sorry we never had enough time, Murray, for okay. We'll move on. I want to thank everybody for coming, and Helen, Anne, Lynn, Andy, and Clara. I think she's still there. Yeah. Okay. Coming up next week, we have club service. And tonight we'll vote on certain things we do, and you need to be here, not away. Chairman Mick Morland, attendants Rob Taylor, Sam McCurdy, fellowship Adrian Funston and Gary Christensen. Has anybody got anything to say for the good of Rotary? Yeah, I'm going to say something. I'm a believer in motivation and have a quotation from George Bernard Shaw that I would like to read to you. Some men see things as they are and say, why? I dream things that never were and say, why not? So with that, could I have everybody stand, and we will close the meeting with number 7. We'll sing the national anthem. 7.
Australians, all they ask, rejoice, for we are young and free, with golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts, our beauty rich and rare. In history's page let every state advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair. Where's the mic, Rick? Yeah, put it on the
Rotarians.